Welcome back to the Make Room Show. I'm Jennifer Ford Berry, and today I want to share something with you that has really made a huge impact on my life this year. And it's one of those habits that I talked about in the previous episode that I said I was going to elaborate on. And it's called the art of allowing. And before I get into what that is, I want to preface this story by sharing why I even felt like I needed to learn a new practice. I noticed this past year that I was becoming more of a worrier when it came to my children. Now that they are both out of the house, I was starting to just worry more than I ever had before. Part of that, I think, is the fact that I am not in control as much as I was when they were little. They were with me. I could protect them easily. They were with me all the time. So it felt like I had more control. And now I don't have really any control because they're so far away. One in college, one is newly in the workforce as a young adult. And I realized I kept asking myself, why am I becoming such a worrier? We used to actually make fun of our mom because we used to call her the worry wart because she would worry about anything we did. If we were leaving with friends, she would be so worried about what was going to happen to us. And we would pick on her because we would be like, we're fine. It was annoying as a teenager to have your mom say, no, you can't go because she was too worried. And I realized that I was turning into my mom with the worry. A lot of what my mom had to deal with when she was raising kids was a high level of anxiety, which actually increased dramatically after the loss of my cousin, who was 3 years old at the time, my cousin John. It was a traumatic, devastating accident that occurred in our family, and just we were reeling we were reeling after that for the loss of John, and it just affected my mom even more tremendously because she felt like if it could happen to her sister-in-law, my aunt, it could happen to her. She was always imagining the worst case scenario because the worst case scenario had actually happened. And I think as a mom myself, I have gone through different stages in my life as in my parenting journey where I've been more worried about them than other times. And a lot of that did stem from the same tragedy of just the fact that if a 3-year-old can leave this earth, then any of us are not guaranteed a day, right? We just don't know who that could happen to. And I remember learning at a very young age. I was actually 13 when my cousin passed away. And I remember thinking, if he can die, then so can I at any given point. And so fast forward to this year when I found myself just worrying more and more about my children. And I realized I had a bad habit of anticipating the worst case scenario. My brain would just go there. Like, what if this happened? What if that happened? And I would see these scenarios played out in my mind, and it was awful. And of course, it just adds to more and more worry. And then, the time would pass, and I realized that what I worried about didn't even happen. So I noticed that it was a complete waste of energy. And I tried to figure out how I could change this problem about myself. And so I started to replace it with the best case scenario. I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to waste so much time and energy imagining the worst case scenario, why not use that same time and energy to imagine the best case scenario? And so this is something that I've been practicing for months. It's not easy, many times because we're stuck on this cycle of a certain way our brain thinks. It's hard to get into a new cycle. So it definitely takes a lot of intention. And it's something that I am continuing to work on. So I had been experiencing that. And then I came across this term used in one of Abraham Hicks's books called The Art of Allowing, and it just spoke to me, and I know it will speak to you too. So the art of allowing is kind of more, I can't even do it justice, but it's more about just letting things be, allowing things to be as they're going to be, and not getting so caught up in trying to force an outcome, because we all know that worry say as moms, we're worried about something that isn't going to prevent it from happening. Actually, the more that I'm learning about how our thoughts are actually dictating our reality, I'm more motivated to stop doing this because I know my thoughts can create things all the time. It's creating my life all the time. So I don't want it to create things I don't want. I only want to use my mind to create things I do want. So I've been even more, like I said, motivated to learn this. And so the art of allowing is just kind of more of letting things be how they're going to be. I'm going to first give you an example of how I use this with just circumstances and how this happened to me. So I mentioned in the previous episode that in July, we decided to purchase another investment property in Florida. It was kind of a quick decision. We were up against the clock. College was going to start. My son and three other baseball players needed a place to stay. And we decided that we were going to purchase a house for them to live in. So I kind of started out the scenario just like, yeah, art of allowing is easy, right? Just whatever house God wants us to have, it will come. It's no big deal. I wasn't stressed out. It actually started to become mind blowing how everything was lining up perfectly in divine time, right? So we met the one person that introduced us to the most amazing realtor, this beautiful Christian woman named Casey. So shout out to Casey if you're listening. She was a godsend. And within a short, literally 1 week from making the decision, we had put an offer on a home. So that's how quickly this happened. We found Casey. My son and I did FaceTime with her, visiting various places. We created a list of what we needed. She found it. And lo and behold, one day she was out driving, going to different properties to FaceTime us. And on the way to the next home, she called me and said, Jennifer, I was driving by and I noticed a brand new neighborhood. And she said, I just want to pull in here really quick. Now, she is from the area that we were looking in, and she had never seen this neighborhood. She's like, I didn't even know it existed. It's kind of tucked back from a main road. And she's like, I just want to run in here and see. And she's called me back. She's like, yeah, they're all new builds. This is amazing. And there are 4 bedrooms like you're looking for, everything that you want. And I said, oh yeah, I already saw those online on the realtor site. I said, but they won't be ready in time. I need it by, I think it was August 8th. And she's like, well, let me just go to the main office and see if anybody's there. 5 minutes later, she calls me back and she's like, somebody's here. And there is actually a house going to be ready by then. I was like, wow. Of course, I'm thinking this art of allowing thing is so easy. I got this down. So I talked to the property manager, and we literally negotiated a deal within like 10 minutes on the phone, and we start moving forward with this house. I'm like, this is perfect. It has, it's a new build, so it's under warranty. We negotiated the appliances. We negotiated all sorts of stuff. It was a smart home. I'm like, this is amazing. It's going to be perfect. It's the right distance from the college. Um, all these things. And I realized that, I just thought this is must be a sign from God. This must be the house that we are meant to be. I'm allowing it to happen. I didn't have a specific house in mind. I didn't have a specific color. I was just like, whatever you want me to have, God, help us to find us the right house. So I'm assuming that this is it. So we keep moving forward with the offer. And obviously it's new construction, so had to be finished. The yard had to be put in. There was lots of steps and the clock was ticking, right? August 8th was right around the corner. And it literally got to probably the third week and we started to hit some bumps. They just said, oh, well, it might not close on time. It was a typical closing where you're sending the same information over and over, to different, there's so many people involved, and it's stressful. It's stressful to buy property. So we get down to the week before it's supposed to close, and they're like, it's never going to close on time. And I'm like, started to imagine the worst case scenario. I imagine, what if now I'm responsible for these four boys? What if we don't get this house? What if it doesn't happen? What if they don't have a place to live? What if when college starts, there's nowhere to go? What if this? What if that? What if all the other parents are mad at me? What if, all these stupid things, just basically putting myself into a tailspin and panicking about the worst case scenario. And I got myself pretty upset to the point where I, at one point, told the realtor, Casey, like, just start looking for homes that are rent to own. I don't even want to do the deal anymore. Like, let's just move on. And, but I kept asking myself, but if it was the right one that God sent the whole time, it still would be the right one. Like, he did put it in our lap. We never found it. He brought it to us. Everything about it was going so smoothly. Why all of a sudden is it so difficult for the process to be finished? Maybe this isn't the right one. But I reminded myself that I'm in the middle of practicing the best case scenario. So I had to stop myself, which really, when you're so used to it, your mind automatically goes down that rabbit hole. And so I had to stop myself and say, nope, keep practicing, see it through. Maybe you'll be surprised. It seems like there's no way possible it's going to happen, but just keep imagining the best case scenario. I imagined Josh and my son driving down because he was driving with him to get his car down. I imagine me flying in. I imagine us showing up to the house for the first time, because at this point we've only seen it on videos. We haven't even visited it. We've done this before. We've bought property we've never seen. So I wasn't worried about that. But I was just imagining the feeling of walking to the house the first time, the look on my son's face when it all worked out, the look on the boys' faces when they got to move into this brand new house, like the feeling of gratitude I would feel, like we're finally here, actually seeing it in real time. Walking around the yard, looking in every room, opening the cupboards in the kitchen, looking at the walls. Like, I really imagine living, like, I imagine what it would feel, look like, smell like, everything. Like, I was actually there. Like, the moment, the best case scenario, in the best case scenario moment, I kept living there and I kept reimagining it. Even when it was hard, my brain wanted to say, nope, don't get your hopes up. It's not going to work. Nope, it's too easy. Nope, something that's going to be bad. The rug's going to be pulled out from under you. It's going to be very disappointing. What are you going to tell the boys? What, all these things. And I kept saying, no, that is the old way. I'm practicing this new way of the best case scenario. So I kept on doing it. And I kept on praying, right? Can always use some more guidance with prayer. And thankfully, we got down to, with the help of Casey and another one of the people on board, Aaron, we actually pulled it off, and the house closed the night before Josh and Bryson were to leave to take the road trip down to Florida. We actually closed on this home 2 days after the 8th. So it was the 10th, but still perfect divine timing. We didn't miss a beat. We didn't have to rearrange our travel plans. I didn't have to rearrange my flight. We actually moved the boys in on the very day that we had planned on moving them in the entire time, which was August 11th. And the day that we all arrived at the house, I just made sure that I gave all of my thanks to God, and that I gave a prayer of Thanksgiving, and I walked through that house just like I imagined it. And I walked around the grass in the yard, and Josh and I took multiple walks in the neighborhood, and I had so much fun unpacking the boys and organizing the house. That's my favorite. That's my jam. And I just couldn't believe it. Like, the best case scenario, you guys, like what I imagined to the T, I was living, and it happened the way I had imagined it. And so it was this huge aha moment to me that, hey, maybe this art of allowing and practicing the best case scenario really works. Let me keep trying to do it. And I also did it just last week which when you're hearing this, it might be a few weeks later, but with Hurricane Milton. And I shared that story too in the previous episodes, or episodes. So you'll have to find that one. But how this ginormous, life threatening possibility of taking out Florida hurricane was coming toward us. And all I did every day was just imagine just God and a wall of angels making this giant wall to prevent Hurricane Milton from hurting our homes, getting to our children, affecting people that have already lost everything. And I just kept imagining it and I felt it and I could see it in my mind's eye. And I just kept doing it and doing it. And lo and behold, that hurricane went south, the eye dissipated, and it did not hit us as much as we thought it was. And our homes are fine. And I kept imagining the days where the kids would go back to the places that we own and they would walk in and they would call us and we would be so grateful because there was zero damage. And that's exactly what happened. So this art of allowing and practicing the best case scenario, it's kind of one and the same. It's not the one and the same. I take that back, actually. It's two different things. I'm combining them for my life and my habit of getting away from imagining the worst case scenario and my habit of worrying. So I'm combining both. But I want to encourage you to try to imagine the best case scenario the next time your brain wants to go the opposite direction. The art of allowing also will affect your relationships, because when it comes to relationships, the art of allowing says, I am that which I am, and I'm willing to allow others to be that which they are. That's what it really says. And so the thing about it is like when you can live in that place, you can stop being so irritated by what everybody else does or the way other people behave, because you want to answer your true calling. You want to behave in the way that feels most authentic to you. And so does everybody else. They don't People aren't walking around saying, how can I act the way Jennifer wants them to act, right? Or how you want them to act. They're acting and behaving the way they want to behave in. And so that has been a huge eye opener for me as well in relationships, because we're not on this earth to make everyone act and feel like we do. We're living our own unique life, and each of our perspectives of life are different. So, how I think I should handle a situation might be the complete opposite of how you feel like you should handle the situation. And that has been such a gift to me, because instead of having to figure it out, right? Or say you have an issue with somebody in a relationship in your life, and the relationship isn't going how you want it to go, and your brain is saying, what can I do differently? How can I fix this? What can I do? What action can I take? What could I say? What could I write? What could I send? How could I talk differently? Maybe the art of allowing is just what you need. Let them be them, and you just focus on you. And if you feel called to do something as a sign of peace or extend an olive branch, great. But sometimes it's better just to hang back and see what they do, right? See if they reach out to you, if they want to make an effort, then you know the person is really worth having in your life. And if they don't reach out, then they're not meant to be in your life right now. And that's okay also. I just had this experience with a relationship in my life where the person who I love dearly does not want to put effort and time into a relationship with me at this point in life. How do I know that? She hasn't said it, but it's her actions, and it's happened over and over and over. And instead of trying to figure it out and come up with how to handle it, especially for a person like me, I'm a planner, I'm a doer. I like to figure out solutions. I've really been practicing just the art of allowing. Let her be her and let me be me. And if our paths aren't crossing or we're not working toward a relationship together, then that doesn't mean it has to be that way forever. But for right now, that's how it is. And the other thing about the art of allowing is the boundaries, that I don't have to allow myself to be put into situations where I'm treated that way. I can have boundaries for me. That doesn't mean I have to force the boundaries on her. They're for me, right? They're for me to love myself enough not to put myself in a situation where I'm going to be treated poorly, or a situation where I know I've been in multiple times and I just decide, no, I'm not going to be in a situation like that again, period. That's okay, right? Doesn't have to be an aggressive argument. It doesn't have to be a big fight. It's just saying, hey, you are you. I am me. We're very different. We're not going in the same direction at this point in life. Maybe that'll change someday, but right now, it is what it is. And focus on the people that are like you, that are around you, that are putting the effort into relationships. I mean, literally, how many times have you been angry at someone because they did not behave the way you thought they should or the way you wanted them to? That's what it really comes down to when we get upset. A lot of times is we think one way and we think that person should think like us. We behave one way and we think that person should behave like us, right? And it's just not going to happen with every single person all the time. You can only control your thoughts and your own behavior. So, what if you allowed others to just act how they act and you just worried about how you act and honoring yourself enough not to engage? Not only will this lower your stress level, but it increases your energy. And honestly, it gives you a freedom like you've never known before. It's like, hey, I'm here living my life. I'm working on me. I'm evolving. I'm growing. I want to get better as a human being. Who cares what everybody else is doing? Don't let it affect you, right? Create the relationships you want by basically taking back your power and being the example. So if you want this person to come from a place of love, then you be the example of love. You be the example of life and light. And if you live in that light every day, other people will notice and they will want to become more like you. If you are becoming a healthier version of yourself, you will stimulate the desire for health in other people. If you are working on becoming wealthy and prosperous, you will stimulate the desire for prosperity in others. And if you focus on the positive, you will inspire others to focus on the positive. It's awesome, right? It's like a game of mirror, right? So the more you are the light, the more light is going to be drawn out of the other person. And you will know when you've achieved this state of allowing, when you can allow others to just be who they are and you are who you are, even when they don't approve of you, even when they're telling you you should be following their guidelines or behaving like they want you to behave, you won't care, right? Because you'll know how this game works. It is amazing. It's an amazing practice. I highly encourage you to try it. And if you do, please, please let me know how it goes. I hope this was something that just get you excited. Something that you could try. And maybe by, a few months from now, 6 months from now, it'll be a habit that you've created and it'll just be a way of life that you're living. And until then, I will be praying that you are focusing on your best case scenario, right? I love you. Until next time. Mwah.